Welcome to the Seattle Investors Club podcast with Julie Clark and Joe Bauer, where we share the nuts and bolts of real estate investing from our 20-plus years in the industry. Sit back, relax, listen, and immediately take action. Are you ready? Here we go.
Welcome to the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing podcast. My name is Joe Bauer, and I'm here with my co-host, Julie Clark. Julie, how you doing today?
I am doing great, Joe. Doing a little multitasking this morning, as always, between the real estate, the homeschooling, and the rest, keeping the household moving now that we just went back into somewhat of a lockdown here in Seattle. You're not even hearing, I don't know what's going on in California. Both our guests today are both Joe and Amalia are both in California. What's going on down there? Anything? Is everything open? No restrictions?
You know, it's kind of like touch and go. A few days ago, they said they were going to reclose it, and I actually haven't heard what the consensus is lately since we're kind of off the grid right now. But yeah, it's been interesting for sure.
So for us here in the state of Washington, they're basically mandating that you have to wear masks, which everyone here kind of does anyways. I think they reduced all the grocery stores and I think anything indoors to 25% capacity, back to that. They've not allowing people to go to gyms. I think the salons and stuff are still open. I believe that the elementary school, like preschool through second grade, is still able to go. And, but we are highly discouraged from having any in-person, small group gatherings and dinner parties and all that. So us Clark girls have, as of last week before the announcement, I didn't even know that was going to happen. We shut it down. So now I have to figure out how to occupy my people here without us all going crazy. And cutting lots of deals, lots of bribes happening in the household. Yeah, what are you guys up to?
Well, we're just hanging out. We're actually outside of this cool car racing track. There's a campground right next to this racetrack. So we've been watching cars race, and then there's mountain bike trails right here. So we've been doing some mountain biking. It's not really bad. It's not a bad life right now.
That sounds pretty good. Yes, I'm just waiting desperately. I think Stevens Pass opens December 4th. We're supposed to get a dump of snow. We are ready to go. I don't think any of the COVID stuff will stop us. We've got all our reservation days. We're ready to pounce. That's the only, saving grace we have here at this time for something to look forward to. So, Speaking of looking forward to something, I have been looking forward to this podcast today. How about the transition there, guys? Whoop, whoop.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Today, I'm so happy to say that we have Amalia Paliobeis from Common with us today on the podcast. Common is dedicated to making housing better by providing flexible, community-minded shared homes. They keep the good parts of shared housing, aka co-living, while removing the annoyances. Common members know their neighbors, meet new people, and save money. And that means never having to worry about cleaning, moving furniture, or splitting bills. Common also works, which is really cool, with real estate developers and investors who partner with them to generate above market returns through exceptional property management, technology, and co-living services. Common is a digital first brand that has mastered acquiring members online. They are currently receiving at least 20,000 applications a month, you guys, driven by their paid social media advertising and search engine optimization efforts. And as I'll say, I pulled this off of a podcast called Behind the Brick. If you haven't heard that podcast, that's a multifamily based podcast, I think by a big New York City Marcus and Millichap broker. And he summed it up by saying the co-living concept is at the intersection of technology, evolving cultural norms, economic pressures, and possibly the beginning of a new category in the business. So without further ado, that was a mouthful, but today on the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing podcast, we have the pleasure of speaking with Amalia Paliobeis, who is the managing director of real estate for Common. So welcome, Amalia.
Thank you. Very, very excited to be here.
Good stuff. Well, I gotta toot our own horn today. Okay. And we are your first podcast.
That is correct.
And so I'm feeling super excited about that badge of honor. And hopefully I will do you some justice today and not scare you off from doing other podcasts.
I don't think so. I think it's a good experience so far. We'll see how the rest of the hour goes.
Well, right on. Well, let's get straight to it. Joseph, kick us off.
Yeah, we'd love to hear everything about what led you up to your point of working in Common, like including things like how you grew up, where you grew up, and then like the transition into where you are now.
Sure. Yeah. So I actually was born in Greece, in Athens, and I kind of moved when I was really young to Orange County and grew up with my mom and my grandparents in Orange County. And my grandparents actually had a restaurant that they eventually purchased the building. And so that kind of seeded my interest in real estate. And I kind of grew up in Orange County, always kind of had that in the back of my mind where, my family had a little bit of, interest in real estate here and there. And I went to USC undergrad and wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do. My mom was an accountant and I said, I want to do anything but that. And then I ended up taking accounting classes and realized I was good at it and kind of liked it. And so then I ended up becoming a CPA and graduating with an accounting degree, which I was not planning on.
We're soul sisters because I actually got an accounting degree and loved it. I thought it was super interesting and now ended up in real estate, similar to you myself. So here we go. We got to meet.
Yes, definitely. And so the good thing, what I really actually liked about it was that right out of college, you could get exposed to a variety of different industries. And so I was able to be on different client engagements that, ranged from the entertainment industry, since I was working here in LA, to the real estate industry. And I've really found that, my old interest of real estate was still something that I was excited about. So I was put on engagements. The one that I was on the most was Kilroy Realty Corporation. And we basically worked on their quarterly financials and annual audits. And about, I'd say 2 years in, I wanted to dig in a little bit deeper into real estate and wanted to focus on the transaction side instead of just the accounting side. And so I was lucky to combine that with my desire to move to the East Coast to New York. And I was lucky to get transferred to the M&A advisory group within Deloitte, which was really awesome because I got to work on advising on the accounting side of transactions for big real estate acquisitions. So Blackstone was one of our clients and there were a few others. So that was really, really cool to see. And so I was in New York for a couple years. And then I was trying to think about what to do next. I actually moved to Barclays quickly and realized, hey, I don't want to get out of real estate. What do I do? And the thought was, I really like real estate, but I don't want to be on the consulting side. So how do I meet in the middle and really find a job in acquisitions or development or somewhere where I'm really kind of driving those decisions? And so I applied for my MBA. I ended up getting into Wharton and going to Wharton. I had a great time there. I learned a ton. There was amazing professors. And so I got an internship knowing that I wanted to go back to LA. I got an internship with a company called Regent Properties, which is a small investor developer that focuses on the Southwest, mostly office, but has done residential and retail in the past, and got to do that. Really loved it, got a full-time offer, and basically worked there for a few years after my MBA and got amazing exposure to kind of the acquisition side and the development side as well. I even took a role in a little bit of the fundraising and asset management. So I had kind of this broad experience in real estate, but ultimately it was funny because my husband at the time just got a job at Snapchat. And I was like so jealous of this startup scene. And I didn't necessarily think there was a startup scene for real estate, but he got to wear jeans every day and like got to, run all these meetings on, virtual meetings and really cool things. And they move super fast. And so I kind of had a thought that, maybe this is something I wanted to do next, but wasn't really taking action on it. And I had a connection actually who was working at Common, and I knew her from before when she was at Heinz. And I saw her in an article and I said, "Hey, what are you guys doing? What is this company?" And she said, "You know what? Small world, because we're hiring a director of real estate in LA and we need to grow our pipeline there." So it just kind of worked out. I applied. It was the only job I applied to. I got a director of real estate role here in LA. I was focusing on really expanding our pipeline here. So finding developers and owners to work at the time with Common on co-living projects. We've since expanded. We could talk about that. And that kind of grew to managing the West Coast. And now I manage a team nationally of about 10 people, focusing on kind of these partnerships that we have across the nation and growing our pipeline there.
I think I love you. That you are the probably smarter, younger version of myself. I have a similar backstory, but I am like, sorry guys, this is my podcast, so I can do and say whatever I want at this point. Get off track. But man, I would love to meet you in person and hang out. I have two 12-year-old girls, twin girls here. And I think the track that you're on and that I've been on is so awesome if they potentially have any interest in that. I would love to I have a bunch of women that are smart friends. I'm not a women's liber. I'm not all into women, rah, rah, rah. But I do think it would be great to have a group of smart women to just talk once every month or two. And, I don't know, sidetrack, guys.
Agreed.
So
I agree. I have two kids too.
So I Smart Women Real Estate Club. How about that?
Yes, definitely.
Right on. Well, sorry guys, we got sidetracked there. Well, that is an awesome story. So now you're the managing director of real estate for Common. Let's jump into the Common a little bit. Which submarkets does Common currently operate in, and where are you looking to expand to?
Yeah, so let me take a step back and talk a little bit about what we're doing now, because I think you outlined pretty well what our co-living kind of arm was. And what we've realized was a lot of the aspects of what we did with co-living, the community, the events, which are now virtual, the ease of just applying, the convenience of being able to tour online and secure a lease online and not have to sign everything. It's all things that people even want as traditional tenants. And so we were founded in 2015 with kind of co-living only, but over the course of time, we started to do hybrid buildings where we have traditional units and a portion is operated as co-living. And we found that the traditional tenants attended the same events and they wanted the same things and they wanted to opt into cleaning. And then, now we're realizing, hey, fully traditional buildings are great too, because we have a lot of different aspects of our business, like our digital first marketing. So I'll kind of dig into that a little bit more later, but we actually have 3,500 units open in 10 cities. They're all across the US. We have Los Angeles, Oakland, San Francisco, Washington, DC, Philadelphia, New York, and South Florida. We're kind of all over. And then we have actually over 17,000 units in 24 cities signed in the pipeline that are either under development or they're delivering soon. And about half of that future pipeline is traditional units.
Let me ask a quick side note question on that. The 17,000 signed and under development, with our health pandemic and people leaving major metropolitan areas and moving out to places like Idaho, or I don't know where on the East Coast they're moving, right? They're moving to Arizona and all. Is that impacted any of that?
It's interesting because the COVID pandemic, it impacted us in the early days, let's say mid-March and April. And that was kind of more across the multifamily industry and across our different multifamily units, whether it was co-living or micros. There were just less people moving and internships were canceled, especially in New York. And so everyone was a little bit unsure. But actually at the end of May, we saw demand begin to return to normal levels. And even in June, we actually signed the most leases in 1 month in the company's history. And so throughout the pandemic, we've been able to keep delinquency low and renewal rates are back to our pre-pandemic levels. And so I think
in major metropolitan cities, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And like Class A buildings and stuff like that, right?
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah. And so what we found is we are big believers in cities are going to remain places for people that people want to live, period. I think maybe there's some people that are moving out of cities in the near term that will eventually come back, or people are leaving cities earlier than they expected because they're like, oh, I'm eventually going to buy a house and I'm going to move out. But, at its core for us, we are about housing attainability and affordability. And so we think as long as we have units that are priced well and give our renters what they need, that they will really want to live in our buildings. And that's what we've seen kind of throughout the last few months.
Super awesome. Super awesome. So what's the history of Common? I know the founder is also the founder of General Assembly, which is I just actually posted on my Facebook page for, super awesome as well. I don't know if he just sold that or what, but give us the history of Common and how it got started or any little background. I know you're not the founder, but just a small tidbit.
For sure. Yeah. So Common was founded in 2015 by Brad Hargreaves, who, like you mentioned, he actually co-founded General Assembly, later ended up selling it. But what he found while working at General Assembly was that whether you were a student of GA or a teacher or somebody who worked there, everybody had the hard time finding housing in these cities. It was either really expensive or people were already living with roommates and they were trying to figure out how do I find a roommate? So I'll give you an example. When I moved to New York, I didn't know anybody. And so I had to email around to find out where I could find a place to live. And I ended up moving into a basement of a 2-bedroom converted to a 4-bedroom with 3 other women that I didn't know, but that's how it went. And so this was already happening. And Brad was saying that there has to be a better way. So he started Common really to kind of focus on a better way of living. And the first way of doing that was to tackle kind of the roommate space. And that happened with brownstones in Brooklyn and leasing those out by the bedroom and providing really a space for people where normally they would have issues with roommates, but we take away a lot of those issues. So we provided weekly cleaning, we provided fully furnished apartments, your utilities are included, Wi-Fi, you have weekly events, everything is there and you don't have to worry about splitting bills. And so that actually obviously turned out to be a great success. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of real estate companies caught on, but they would say, hey, I like this idea, but I don't want to build 100% co-living. So we've kind of since expanded there and have transitioned to a lot of different brands as well. So we have kind of the Common umbrella, which is we're a residential brand and operator. And through the brand side, we actually have Studio, which is we do interior.
When you say residential, you mean multifamily, right?
Yes.
You mean, because
yes, exactly.
People here, we have investors on that are residential investors. So we want to clarify, we're talking about, multifamily living, guys.
Exactly. Yep. And so we really have kind of that Common brand, which offers some co-living, but we have Studio, which can design. We have an interior design team. We can pick out, the furniture and design and selection of a new building, whether it's co-living or not. And then we have that. So the Common brand can be traditional co-living or micro units. It's our urban professional brand. Our average age is 30, and that brand is in 9 cities across the US. Then we have another brand, because the whole goal of Common is really there's no direct to consumer brand for residential nowadays. A lot of it is at the building level. And so it's pretty hard to as a consumer to know what is good. And we want to create that. So our next kind of brand that we embarked on was Kin, which is our family housing brand. We're currently in New York and Oakland.
How do you spell it?
KIN.
Okay.
And that is designed to make city living easier for young parents. So how do you bring that ease and convenience that Common offers to young urban professionals to parents? So that is stroller parking in the buildings, that is baby proofing apartments, being able to have nanny sharing on site, date night drop off, things like that. And then you have NOAA as well, which is our workforce housing management brand. And we're currently in Hampton Roads and Winchester areas of Virginia. And we will be expanding to a lot of other cities like Seattle, Indianapolis, and Washington, D.C.
Explain to me your definition of workforce housing.
Usually, so workforce housing, which is actually the largest percentage, has the largest percentage of buildings in terms of all different types of multifamily, whether it's Class A. And it's really, I would say, Class B, Class C garden style apartments in maybe not secondary cities, but more suburban areas. Right. And a lot of times there aren't the property managers that are considered Class A or the best property managers in that space. And we want to be able to bring our best in class digital marketing and our centralized operations that can cut costs to this space so that you can operate them more efficiently and also bring in a social impact aspect of it and help people, whether it's saving more money or helping them through other ways. Like we use Obligo, where it's a security deposit replacement product, and just getting money in people's pockets so that, they can pay their rent and they can pay their other bills.
Wow. So we have Common, Studio, Kin, NOAA. Anything else?
I think that's it for now.
Wow. Hey, have you ever heard of Pinnacle or American Management Services, which is a national third-party fee-based property management company?
Yes.
That is where I grew up.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So I spent 20 years there working, or 16 years there working for the founder, John Goodman, if you ever heard of his name, who is the founder of what is now called Pinnacle or American Management Services. But I worked for his personal private real estate investing company called Goodman Real Estate. And so that's why I'm saying, like, you and I have so much in common. This is interesting. So as you know, Pinnacle is a huge managers of property, but it's interesting how you guys are the modern version of these huge property management companies. I can't wait to see what happens here with Common. How, like you're saying, that some of these large Class A property management companies are not necessarily the best at the garden style, property management out in the burbs. Let's just say, oh, this is exciting stuff. Let's keep going here. So what is the biggest, though, out of these sectors or these arms of the Common brand? We have traditional or co-living, or like you said, micro units. Let's go with those right there. Which one do you feel has the largest growth capability out of those sectors?
Well, if you think about it in terms of our real estate portfolio growth, I think obviously the answer is going to be traditional units, because that's just the most of what's being built right now, right? And that can be for urban professionals, that can be for retirees, it could be for anyone. And that's part of the reason why we're, pushing on traditional units too, because we think we can add value there, and that's a great way for us to grow as well. I think co-living and micro units will always be there, and there is a subset of the market that will want to live there, but it's a little bit more transient. So usually why we like these hybrid buildings is because if I can only afford $1,200 a month, maybe I'll start living in that building as a co-living tenant. And then once I say I get engaged or I get married or I get a promotion and I'm ready to kind of take the step up into a studio and I have that money to pay for it, I can just transfer within the building, and it's with one click and it's very easy.
It's like the circle of life, because that's what happens when you get to be 87 years old and you get into independent living, and then there's the assisted living in the same building. It's a crazy, weird, odd circle of life, guys. I just think that's my note there. Isn't co-living though really like an easy target for those type of situations would be the operators and owners of student housing type buildings?
It's interesting because it's different. It's different in a few ways. And so the student housing buildings, basically you have one lease up period and everybody ends at the same time. So they start in September and they end, in May, and there's not necessarily this in and out of people, which is what happens when people live with roommates and they're graduated from college. Our average age, like I mentioned, is actually 30. And so a lot of the times you get people who are thinking, hey, I want to move to this new city, but I don't know anybody. And so what Common allows is for you to be able to move in with someone else with already those people living there. And you don't have to worry about one lease up period and one end. So you can move in and out depending at different times of your lease. And then I think the other aspect is really the focus that we have to have on community. So student housing operators, they can get the community through the school. We have to create it. And we have our community app, which is really great for people to find ways to connect with each other. You can tag your interests. You can get discounts at other, coffee shops nearby. And then also you can create events yourself and get them sponsored by Common to, in pre-COVID days to say, have a brunch after you run a 5K or something. And so I think there's that there's that aspect. And then also the advertising and marketing aspect, which you don't necessarily need as a student housing operator because the demand comes to you.
Hey guys, it's Julie here with a quick break from the show to discuss an opportunity some of you may have interest in, which is to work more closely with me. On almost a daily basis, I get calls from investors and brokers, both new and experienced, asking me for guidance or advice. I love helping you guys out and it keeps me on my toes too. So with that said, I wanted to let you know that I have a private broker coaching community called the VIP Education Community. And the best part is that it's 100% free. That's right, it's free to join. So whether you're a traditional broker or a broker investor, my VIP education community offers personalized one-on-one coaching from not just me, but also from my experienced broker friends with expertise in all disciplines of real estate and real estate investing. We'll teach and share our modern marketing strategies, our tech and lead generation resources, plus teach you how to identify or offer up opportunities for yourself or for your clients using techniques such as seller financing, lease options, land entitlement deals, BRRRR investing, flipping, multifamily or commercial coaching, whatever you like. We've got it all covered for you. The future of real estate is changing fast, and to stay in the game, it's time to learn about all the options you can offer your buyer and seller clients, as well as, if you want, learn how to use those skills to grow your own real estate portfolio. If you'd like more details about joining my VIP education community, reach out to me at julie@seattleinvestorsclub.com or text me at 206-910-2985 or just send me a Facebook message. My new favorite phrase is community equals confidence. So let's navigate the future of real estate together. Now, back to the show.
So because you guys are in tune and in touch with developers of multifamily housing, are you seeing, you're kind of able to see probably because that's kind of one of your targets, I would assume, what's being built these days? Is it these hybrid buildings or micro units, or are more of them still building traditional?
It really depends on the developer and the type of money that they have behind them. If it is a value add play, if it's a little bit riskier, opportunistic, we're seeing everything, and it depends on the location too. So we are signing ground up projects that are 100% co-living. We are signing some projects that have a portion of co-living that are these really, really large, 300 plus unit buildings. And we're signing buildings that are, delivering soon that are micros. And we're even seeing hotel to micro conversions, especially now.
That's what I was about to say to you. The hotel, I've been talking with some of my friends about that have literally just started, have a fund to repurpose hotels, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are you guys seeing?
Yes, we're getting a lot of interest there. And that's what's great about our studio team is you can engage us and we can put together test fits and figure out, okay, how is this actually going to work? What is the ideal, amount of community space per floor? Because if you have hotels, they're really just rooms, right? And it's probably not cost effective. Well, it's definitely not cost effective to put a kitchen in every room. And so how do you create a space that's livable, that works with a partner's pro forma? And so there's ways we can do it because we actually have operated these, the SROs in San Francisco, for example, where you have one large kitchen and say 20 rooms on a floor. And so you can actually do that on different floors. You can put in a big kitchen that's more of a community kitchen, and then you have different rooms. And that is, we're seeing several of those hotel to micro conversions coming to us, and we're actively kind of designing and underwriting those.
And the thing is that you guys aren't competing with the operators because you're not buying the buildings. You guys are providing just the management, lease up, design. And I'll say one of the questions I was going to ask you is, do you have a due diligence service, right? Do you have and it kind of sounds like you do, where you help the operators who maybe are either building or under contract to purchase buildings. Let's say somebody's under contract to purchase a hotel chain that's failing due to pandemic or whatever reason. You guys could come in, and do you provide a service then to a consulting service while they're under their due diligence period? You guys follow what I'm saying?
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So we have what's called a technical services agreement, and that can totally vary depending on what it is that the partner is looking for. And we absolutely have something like that, where if somebody's under contract or about to even bid on a project, and they say, hey, this is a hotel to micro conversion, I think I have the zoning figured out, I just want to understand what is this going to look like so then I can get it priced out. They can engage us, and we can kind of work on those test fits, like I mentioned, and also what comes with that is a pro forma, where we do a deep dive into the rents that we can get based on what we provide in terms of the unit mix and what's going to be included in each unit, and really give a pro forma, an estimated lease up period, and all of that. So they're basically armed with all the data they need to go to their investors and get approval, and then can hit the ground running once they close.
Holy smoke! So I have you and I need to have a separate meeting with my group. I want to introduce you to my group, which is
Great.
Talking about the hotel to micro conversions, and has a fund ready to go on that. So, oh boy, fun stuff, guys. Wow. So what is like the unique experience a user will have, I guess I'll say, of when they're going to lease from Common? How do they do it? Is there like an app, or how do you use Common as a tenant looking for space? What's just the basic mechanics of engaging?
Yeah. So one of our core values is convenience. And so you'll see that what's interesting is with the 20,000 leads that you mentioned at the beginning, we have about 40% of those leads that are organic, which means people are just hearing about Common and going to our website. So we get about 8,000 applying organically. And we know that when someone is looking for an apartment, they're looking about 15 days before they move, and they're looking at about 5 to 7 properties. So our goal is to get to people early and often, and make it very, very easy and frictionless. And so with those, you're probably thinking, okay, that's a lot of leads a month. So how do I know that we're actually being able to access those leads? We have an inside sales team that's based out of our Atlanta office that's able to put each lead into 7 different tiers. They get matched. You fill out your budget, your location, and a few other things, and then that gets matched with our existing vacancies. And if there's a match, you're put in tier 1, and you basically get called within 10 minutes. And
Does
so
the tenant pay a fee
No.
to be a member of Common? It's like, like in Texas, it's really big that they have what do they call them? Leasing, they charge huge commissions for, I don't know what they call it. Leasing, there's like a name they
Yeah, we don't. So you basically, and that's the whole goal, is to make it easy and convenient. So whether you go to our website, you fill it out, we have a chat bot there. You can take your own tour through Matterport Tours, or like I mentioned, you'll get a call within 10 minutes. They can walk you through the availabilities. And then everything is virtual. It's all paperless. You can sign out, sign your lease. You can add renter's insurance through your phone, and everything is done pretty seamlessly. So I think that is the goal nowadays.
What about for existing buildings? I know on lease ups of like new development buildings and stuff like that, people are renting prior to probably the building being complete, or maybe right when it's leased. As far as, does anybody come look at the properties, or is it all just virtual?
So before COVID, it was only about 30% of our leases signed were done virtual only. So we still had a majority that were still going in and looking at the building. Obviously, right when COVID hit, we went 100% virtual and have slowly started to add back in-person tours. So in-person tours will always be something. I think you need to see the building, or some people do, some people don't. If you're moving across the country, you just want to look at a virtual tour and you say, this is good enough, great. So we always have that option, assuming that, local guidelines let us. And we have, even though we have this kind of tech aspect with our inside sales team and member services, we have an on-site team on the ground. We have leasing specialists, we have property technicians. In some cases, we have community managers. So we still have people there. It's just that we're basically kind of splitting up who would be on site into two. And part of that is being centralized.
Awesome. So I imagine that your managers and so forth have to have real estate licenses, correct?
Yes. I believe the leasing specialists do.
Right. That leads me to the question then is, is Common a brokerage firm or designated broker, or how does that work? And my part two question of that is, in my history of growing up in this biz, property management, now this is modern, so you guys, times are different, and there's different ways to make money these days with technology disrupting even, property management and real estate and so forth. But, back in the day, I'm older than you, I'm sure, as I'm looking at your picture here, property management was a feeder to brokerage, where the bigger fees and the bigger money was made on brokerage than the property management side. And sometimes even property management was a break even to feed brokerage. Are you guys a broker, or are you going to be brokering any of these buildings in the future? Or do you who do you guys partner with on the real estate side?
So we don't broker any sales or transactions. I would have to check. I believe anyone who is actually leasing our buildings would have to pass, the state's brokerage test or whatever they need to do to actually be in the business. I don't have kind of the background on that because that is on our leasing side. And we don't have plans to be kind of a brokerage firm. What our goal is you can think of us like a hotel flag. Like, we want to be that brand for everyone, across the globe, or even expanding globally, that people know, hey, I'm moving somewhere else, or I'm changing locations, and I want to live in a common building. And so what we're able to do in terms of, we're just able to do it really efficiently, because
I am hearing that. I think it's super, super awesome. How does that work with the branding that Common, like we're talking about, how you're clearly making your mark as a recognizable brand, and hopefully we're helping you by doing this podcast today as well. But like, let's say there's owners of companies that have their own brand, right? There's all these large landlord groups and multifamily owners across the country that sort of have their own brand, right? How does that work with Common? Have that interface with the Common brand when they have their own established brand?
Yeah, so we can partner with kind of those institutional owners that it could be like, Edge by Common, which is our Florida building. And so if it's already been branded, we can just add kind of a by Common at the end of it. And we found that it's our marketing capabilities are able to really boost the demand that we get there. So what's funny is that we well, it's not necessarily funny. I think it's great that we have a really, really great team that puts together original content. And so, for example, we do a neighborhood guide for each one of our homes that we open. And we opened a home in Flagler Village. We put together a neighborhood guide, best restaurants to go to. We have different grocery stores. And obviously at the bottom, we have, hey, this is our home in Flagler Village if you want to join. But if you search Flagler Village on Google, we're the number 3 hit because, like the SEO optimization that we talked about, people are clicking on it. They find our content and just interesting, and they're able to utilize it in different ways. And so we do it through that. We do it through social media management, reputation management. Obviously, we have a great marketing team who's worked in building online consumer brands with the backgrounds in social media and mobile gaming. And then we obviously do that hyper local marketing as well with local businesses. But I think that's really, what we excel at is being able to have this brand and utilize it to bring in additional demand.
How does Common's property management fees and fee structure compared to the old school traditional, big national property management companies that you and I both know lots of names of?
Yeah, so it's actually really similar, but in some cases, when we actually should be in most or all cases, we're actually underwriting a faster lease up. And then we also have a decrease in a lot of the operating expenses, more so around payroll because of this centralized team that we have. So we're really utilizing everybody across multiple properties. And you don't necessarily have to add one full person at your building. You can add 0.5 or 1.5. And so those are basically on par with, in terms of fees, on par with other property managers, but where you'll see the lift is usually through OpEx savings or the ability to lease up quicker or add densification with co-living.
Yeah. I don't think any of the big old schoolers can, compete with your marketing, right? That's, to me, feels like a big difference. But so, wow.
Yeah. And to add to that, we leased up a building here in LA that was 140 co-living units. And we leased at least, what was it, about 20 plus a month during COVID between April and September. Got it to 96% leased. And a lot of it was just through, our marketing.
Do you guys ever get hired just for the lease up component and then hand it back to the operator?
No, because it's really difficult for us to, the tough part is we have this brand. And so when we're marketing the brand and what we offer, which is the app and all of these other things and our customer service. And so if we sign a lease with tenants thinking that's what they're going to get, and then we leave and they don't get that, that's bad for our brand. So we have not done that.
I don't know why, and maybe this doesn't make any sense. It seems like a natural extension of a division of the Common brand business model. So a little history on the background is last time in 2008-9 when we had the downturn in our market, and I started a little startup myself called sharedbusinessspace.com. It's the most ridiculous name on the planet, but sharedofficespace.com was taken. What happened to me is that, when we are in a situation like we are now, where people are all in these leases in these office buildings and their business has slowed down due to financial crisis now, which is a pandemic these days, is I must have had, 10 calls, 15 calls in a row from some of my friends that own companies that had big leases in place. They're like, why don't you come share office space with me? Because I was doing my own thing at that time. And so I started this startup. And maybe you've also heard of Loose Cubes, that was founded out of New York City. Have you heard of them?
I haven't actually, no.
That's because they went under, because they took, VC money and they made a deal with the devil, and they got $9 million of funding or more for their, they would be like having WeWork list on their site as like a, shared office space listing site, which comes with collecting data on leases and expiring leases. Trust me on all this stuff, but it feels like you guys would be able to step in also on the helping with the shared office space situation that might be a problem due to the economic crisis that might be looming here with these office building landlords. Just saying, side.
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to get into the office space, but there are a few other providers like Industrious that took a similar approach to Common, and that I think they're not necessarily doing those master leases, and they're doing management for the most part, at least going forward. And so
Right.
I don't know that we're going to do a full pivot there.
So I think, and these aren't, it's not doing the master leases, because that's where people get taken down, right?
Right.
We have this company that's like, somebody learned a really big lesson not to do the master leases and just go on the management side like you, and that's called Stay Alfred. Have you heard about Stay Alfred?
Yes, I have heard of it.
So they basically, they had that was a hospitality brand play, right, out of Spokane, Washington here, where they were doing leases in those individual Class A buildings, but they did the master lease model, and then when things hit a rough patch, I think they couldn't get any more funding and they had to shut their doors. So you guys are different because you're just doing management and not master leases, right? So
Yep. It was either a year and a half or 2 years ago. We basically said no more master leases. Obviously, we had to do it in the early days with those small brownstones to prove out the market and the business. And then after that, I think actually lenders really like the management model better because it reduces a lot of the complexities. It is,
right.
All of the tenants are on one lease. That lease is with the building, not with a VC backed company. It's just all better that way.
I don't know how they would do financing those situations. They'd almost have to underwrite the master leaseholder as well.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. So, well, good stuff. So, wow. What else? Anything else you want to share with us today? You're operating, a lot of our listeners, although we have listeners all across the U.S. actually here for sure, with the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing podcast. We probably have a heavy listening here on the West Coast in the Pacific Northwest. And so you're in Washington, you're not yet, and you're down in LA and San Francisco and Oakland and all those places, but not yet in Oregon.
Not yet in Oregon. We're looking to expand pretty much anywhere with our different brands. So if it's, in a city, we can do Common there. If it's more of a suburban, that is definitely a NOAA or a KIN. And so we're just super excited to continue to grow. You can email partners@common.com if there's a site that you have that is interesting, or a building, and we can get that, underwritten and take a look at it.
We definitely have a lot of people that like investing. Here in Washington, a lot of the investors in our circle here, they like to buy large multifamily buildings out of state because it's so expensive here.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of Texas purchases and so forth. Are you guys not in Texas yet, right?
We're not in Texas, but we're actively underwriting deals in Texas, and it is one of our target markets for sure.
And what's the minimum building size, the number of units that you guys want to sign up?
So it varies by market. If it's a market that we're already in, which I believe you can see on our website, it could be, if it's close to an existing building, as little as 50 to 75 units. If it's a new market, I'd say probably 100 to 150 plus. But that totally depends. And so I think the best thing to do is to reach out and see if there's a fit there.
Wow. Good stuff. Super exciting. I can't wait to watch you guys grow. I think you're going to absolutely kill it.
Thank you.
Anything else that you want to add today? And we can tell people how to best plug in to, how do people best plug into Common as a tenant? Because we have a lot of people going, hell yeah, I need a place to rent.
Yeah. So if you just go to common.com, there you can pick your city. There's LA on there, Jersey City, San Francisco. You can take a look at the homes that you're interested in. Like I said, there's chat bots on there if you have questions, and everything's very transparent. You've got your pricing in there, what's included. And that's the best way to kind of get the process kickstarted.
What are the lease terms? How long are the leases, and what's your screening criteria? Is it like 3 times rent, or what's that look like?
That is a good question. So we have flexible lease terms for a lot of our buildings. The majority of our tenants, I'd say over 70%, are on 1-year terms. We do offer 3 and 6 month terms at certain buildings, and our rent requirements, I think, vary by state, and I don't have that number off the top of my head.
Okay.
I apologize.
As a real estate broker, I'm a real estate broker. I own apartments and investor myself, but I'm putting my real estate broker hat on the residential side. We have people that are in transition with our across the US, the real estate market is certainly, I think in most areas, still a very strong seller's market on residential real estate due to low inventory, low interest rates, keeping buyers in the market, right? Whether it's first time or trade up type buyers. And in order to compete, nobody can make a contingent offer on their home. If you have an existing home, you need to sell it in order to buy your next home, to have your cash ready and so forth. A lot of people have to transition maybe for a while into a rental. Is there a match with residential real estate letting their homeowner clients that they're selling their homes know about Common as a gap transitional housing while they're getting ready to purchase, which could take a minute because they have to compete, unless you're working with me, guys, who knows how to compete for their next home. Is that something we can all point our sellers to? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, it could be. I think what's interesting with Common is that it's not necessarily transitional. Even though we offer 3 and 6 month terms, the renewal rate is the same as those at 1-year terms, which is about 50%. And so what we want to be careful of is obviously just making sure that it doesn't become a community where people just move in and out all the time. But I think it's definitely an option, and we have those units available online, and you can definitely see, when they can move in, and what the term is and things like that. And that is totally an option for people that are kind of in between.
People absolutely. I myself have buyers that, are their leases coming up wherever they're at, right? And they just haven't found the right property, and they're getting to the point where they don't really want to go month to month on something. So sometimes they'll go in and just renew their lease for X amount of time, 6 months or whatever, and continue looking, knowing that almost the cost of the purchase of the home they're wanting to buy they're going to burn some rent, or they might be responsible for a lease, for doubling down, meaning they're paying their new mortgage and their lease, but they kind of just have no, you got to kind of be fluid in that environment. Mm-hmm. Is there any type of, and we're absolutely not saying that Common is set up to do this, and we're not promoting this, but just curious, is there any type of like communal, the building is full, somebody wants to move out, somebody wants to move in type of thing? I guess you know what I'm saying? Like, I guess that would be just like any other building, right? Somebody wants to terminate their lease early and you have a wait list. Do you have wait lists at your buildings?
Yes, we do. We have wait lists. And so that's all managed through our leasing team.
Awesome. Okay. But that's not the business model, guys. So that's not what we're talking about. So good. I could talk to you forever, but I won't, because I know how busy you are, because Common is so awesome, and I'm sure you go out and kill it. So I have some people that I'd like to introduce you to, not just to like help you promote Common, because I think it's almost like you guys on the property management side with Common are ahead of the disruption in real estate, right? Yes, we have like the Redfins out there, and we have the Zillows and so forth that are now doing brokerage, that are trying to disrupt the residential real estate, and having this straight line to buying online, all your documentation you can just buy using all their contracts, all their mortgage companies, all their escrows, blah, 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 right? Kind of seems like you guys on the property management side of the real estate biz are kind of ahead of, the game on, is it prop tech? I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, at least on the tech side. Yeah, because we use Salesforce, we use Stripe. We have kind of this hub and spoke system where we're integrated with a lot of different great technologies that just makes everything run better. And I don't know if you see that at any other company these days. That's traditional.
Super awesome. Super awesome. So do you guys, what personally now for you, what apps do you use personally? What are your favorite go-to for living your life apps?
Oh man. Well, now because I have a 3-month-old, I have the Snoo app, which I don't know if you know of the Snoo, but it basically like shakes your kid to sleep and you
How
don't
do you
have to
spell
do
it?
that. SNOO.
I could use that myself. I got a 12-year-old. I got a 12-year-old that has like insomnia, man. I'll tell you.
They've got to make bigger ones for them. I use the Peloton app, which is great, especially now during COVID, and stay up to date on everything with Twitter. But I'd say those are the most used.
What's your go-to news source? How do you get your news?
I'm subscribed to a lot of email newsletters from the New York Times. I have Mike Allen from Axios. I read a few of those a day and just kind of skim them. I try not to kind of go down the rabbit hole of going onto websites.
I hear you. Joe, we should be asking that question of everybody because I just find it fascinating what everybody is, focused on or reading or all that other stuff. Do you listen to any podcasts except maybe hopefully you'll start listening to ours?
Yeah. I'd say the one I listen to consistently is Pivot with Kara Swisher and Scott Galloway, which I find enjoyable. And then other ones, it just kind of depends. If a new one that's cool that comes out, I'll listen to it, but that's mostly it.
Awesome stuff. Well, good stuff. Well, if you know anybody that's super into health and fitness, our boy Joe here has the Get Better Project. I'm going to give you an opportunity just to say something about that, Joe, just because we're sharing.
Heck yeah, 2 dumbbells and a kettlebell is all you need. And we run the Get Better Project out of our van. And if anybody's interested, head over to the getbetterproject.com/2 weeks. Get yourself rocking.
Health and fitness. We're all
Love
doing
that.
kicking ass in real estate, but we got to stay healthy. Yours truly included. So check it out, guys. So fun today. This has been great. Hope it's been good for you,
Yes.
Amalia. And, we will do our best to put the word out about Common and spread the good word, and excited to, let us know, whoever's listening, if you guys are thinking, oh man, this is awesome. I'm going to go lease a unit from Common, or, hey, I'm a property owner, I'm a landlord listening, and I can meet the threshold of engaging with Common. Please let us know that you listen to this and hit us back up. If you have any follow-up questions, hopefully we can start a dialogue with Amalia. And also, if you guys start expanding in other markets, or you have a new line or something pivots in your business, or you reach some sort of great milestone, we please come back to us here at the Nuts and Bolts Real Estate Investing. And
Definitely.
no, I have some really cool people that run super national conferences that I want to connect you with, as well as our side conversation about the hotel to micro conversions.
Cool.
So let's do it. Awesome stuff.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, guys. As always, we've run long because we just love these deep dives, meeting new people, finding new technologies and other things touching our global real estate lives. And so one of those ways to plug in, of course, is our weekly meetup that happens every Thursday from 11:30 to 12:30 Pacific time. Really does not matter where you're at. You could be in LA, you could be in New York, doesn't matter. We talk about evergreen topics that touch everybody everywhere. It isn't, Pacific Northwest based or Seattle based. Really great place to check in and talk about current topics, get your problems solved. Tell us about resources such as Common. I'll be mentioning it this week at our meetup. So if you get a chance, in order to jump in and plug in on that whenever you have time, simply go to meetup.com and jump on the Seattle Investors Club meetup.com site. Grab the link to our Zoom meetup every Thursday morning, and we will see you there. If any of you would like to hire a rock star real estate broker like myself, I'm available. If you are in other markets, I have referrals I can make to you nationally. Super excited about that. So keep me in mind as well. If you want health and fitness, keep Joe in mind with Get Better Project. And don't forget to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, where we have hundreds and hundreds of podcasts like this one on super awesome deep dive topics that you guys are all going to love. I listen to these things when I'm driving around to appointments. I just throw one on and have a listen. So join us there. And hopefully, if you like what you hear, you'll hit the like button and subscribe. And also, we welcome you all to not only join our meetup.com page, but join us on our Facebook page at Seattle Investors Club. And Amalia, you're welcome to join us too and post stuff about Common.
Awesome.
I would love for you to just use our Seattle Investors Club platform on Facebook. And Joe then pushes that out to wherever else. That's his side of the coin. And just give us updates. Feel free to use it without asking. All right, guys. Joe, where can everybody find the details about today's spectacular podcast?
Yep. All the show notes can be found at seattleinvestorsclub.com/132. That's seattleinvestorsclub.com/132. And if you enjoyed this show, please give us a review. And
hey, shout out to our sponsor, Certain Lending. If you guys are looking for any hard money, or if you are needing a review of a property that you are looking to purchase, you're not sure if you should go conventional or hard money or private money. The great thing about Certain Lending is they're looking out for you. They are service-minded. That's why we love them. And please connect with our friends at Certain Lending. You can do that just by going to certainlending.com or connecting with NHI, just like your knee, NGHI, at certainlending.com. And not only are they fantastic hard money lenders, they're connected to all kinds of conventional and private money lenders to put you in the best situation for your project, whether that be a flip, a BRRRR, multifamily, whatever it is that you're working on. So shout out to Certain Lending. We love you guys. And thanks for showing up for us here at the Nuts and Bolts of Real Estate Investing. All right, guys. See you next time. Hope to see you next week on Thursdays. Talk to you. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Seattle Investors Club podcast. If you have questions that you'd like to have answered on the show, shoot us an email at info@seattleinvestorsclub.com. Now go out, take that action, and build that real estate business. Thanks for listening.